Good evening, good evening, good evening. Do we have a show for you today?
Yes.
If you are hearing my voice, that means that you are listening to Iris Moments. It is 8 o'clock on a Wednesday evening, and you are on Cruise Inc. Radio. Cruise, thank you so much for allowing us to have this platform to come out and talk to our listening audience, because I'm excited about this show tonight. So let me just say this before I turn things over. You can find Cruise Inc. Radio at 102.8 on your dial. You can catch them all the time. However, you really want to be there on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. when we give you all of our book talk and shenanigans that we do. So tonight, I don't want to waste any time talking to you guys and acting up. I'm going to introduce you to our co-host. Then I'm going to introduce you to our special guest. So say hello, Midnight Ace. Say hello to the listening audience. I'm sorry, I didn't give your government name. Cynthia
That's
Butler,
okay.
better known as the beautiful Midnight Ace. Midnight Ace, say hello to the listening audience.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and you are going to enjoy this treat.
Yes, you are. Okay, Miss Prissy, are you going to behave today?
Yes. Good evening, royal book lovers. Welcome to another evening of Iris Moments and the Shenanigans.
And that voice that you heard was the beautiful Cara Parker, who you all know as Miss Prissy. And this is your host, Iris Boland. Miss Prissy and I promised that we're going to behave tonight. We are going to turn things over to Midnight, who is the calmer of the three of us. But no, we're going to jump in on things. So just be ready for tonight. Now, before I turn it over to Midnight Ace, I have the honor and the pleasure of introducing to our listening audience the remarkable, the New York Times bestselling author, the person that taught us about love, romance, and kissing. The one and only, the beautiful, beautiful spirit, beautiful person, beautiful inside and out, Miss Brenda Jackson. Brenda, welcome to Iris Moments.
Oh, thank you. I am just so excited to be here. And you know, Iris, all you ever have to do is pick up a phone and call me, and I am there, girl. I am there.
Oh, I so appreciate that, Miss Brenda. But you know, I try not to bother you because I know how busy you are. I know that you're putting out 120 books a year.
Oh my
goodness. I understand
goodness.
You have to get those stories out. And to be honest with you, I don't want to interrupt you because I want the stories too. And I would just say this, and then I'm gonna turn it over to Midnight Ace. Miss Brenda, Catalina Cove has just made my year. I know it's just February, but I am going to tell you the truth. Sometimes you need to take your mind out of what's happening around the world and what's going on. Catalina Cove has done that for me. You know, I don't want to be anywhere else. I just want to live in Catalina Cove. Oh, wow. And it has done that for me. So I'm going to turn it over to Midnight because we want to be able to get all of our questions in so our listening audience can feel the love that we feel for Catalina Cove too. So Midnight 8, take it over.
Hey, Miss Brenda. Again, you are a lot of things to a lot of people.
Yes.
So thank you, first of all, for being you and sharing yourself with us. For me, I want to say, and I think we all agree that reading this story, Catalina Cove has been a lot of things to us. It has been love. It has been family. It has been insightful. It has been historical. And it has been a place where we all feel like even the readers can go and heal. So like Iris says, you know, Catalina Cove making our year. As you know, we have gone through a lot in this world for the last 2 years, but I feel like, and I think they will agree, that Catalina Cove has been a place that we can read about and feel like there is hope.
Okay, yes.
There is hope.
Thank you.
Listen, our first question to you is, I'm just gonna jump right in because we time constrained here. Okay, Catalina Cove, we all agree too. Catalina Cove is not just a place. It's more in this series, a character.
Right.
So let's just start with Catalina Cove. What inspired Catalina Cove? Because you made it you gave it a heartbeat.
You did.
Gosh, wow. Thank you, ladies, for your kind words. Believe it or not, I resisted writing Catalina Cove or a series like Catalina Cove because I don't know how many of you remember when I wrote A Silken Thread.
Yeah.
Yes.
A Silken Thread, and that was Hattersville, Ohio. Well, when I wrote that book, that was a 4-book contract, and I was supposed to write A Silken Thread and 3 other books, and all 4 of those books were to take place in Hattersville, Ohio. Mm-hmm. Well, in the midst of all of that, Harlequin, because I was writing for Harlequin, they decided that they wanted me to switch gears, that even though they liked Silken Thread, that they wanted me to be one of the first African Americans to write under their mirror line. And that in doing so, that they were going to put the other 3 books that were supposed to follow Silken Thread on the back burner. And so instead of writing the 3 books of the Catalina Cove series that was, or the series that was left for Silken Thread, they had me write the Grangers. And so they didn't say we're going to substitute the Grangers for these other 3 books. They gave me a totally different contract. So after the Grangers, then I wrote the Protectors. So somewhere down the line, those 3 books got kind of like pushed aside, even though they had paid me, advanced me for those 3 books. Harlequin they just went out of Harlequin radar. And whenever I brought it up to them, they say, oh, you'll get back to them later. Because they were mostly looking at those type books, the Grangers and the Protectors, and then the Men of Action. Mm. And then Harlequin got bought out by HarperCollins, and someone did an audit and said, wait a minute, years ago, y'all paid her for 4 books and we only got 1. So they let them know it wasn't the author's fault, it was our fault. But, they decided, well, she needs to write those 3 books. So by that time, Silken Thread was being looked at and considered for a movie by Debbie Allen.
Right.
So I did not want to write 3 more books that would fall under that umbrella that Debbie was looking at. So that's how A Silken Thread became our one and only book that's not connected to anything else, even though it should have been, because it was going to be the first of 4 books. So they said, well, you have to write the other 3 to satisfy the contract. So I say, fine, I don't have time to try to revamp A Silken Thread. It's with Debbie Allen. I'm going to start a new series. And so in that series, that's when I decided that it would not be a family town. It would be a town, and Catalina Cove would be, like Midnight say, the character.
Yeah.
And that people in the town, you would learn about people who lived in the town. There would be staples, people like the Witherspoon Cafe and Reed LaCroix, people that you have come to know and love that would appear in every book. But that the premise of Catalina Cove was that it was the character, and that everybody else was just players around that character. And I used the high school because most of them graduated together. Right. And I figured if I did that, I could bring people back to town that you had never heard of. So I could always introduce people.
That's wonderful.
So that's how that came to be.
Wow, that is such a, oh my gosh, that story gives me chills. just thinking about it, you know.
Doing just that.
Yeah.
Just the fact that you started out, Catalina Cove wasn't even on your radar, and then for you
Not at all.
And then for you to say that you started these stories based on Catalina Cove actually being a character, we have been saying that for the last 4 shows. By the time we got to book number 3, we said, okay, Catalina Cove isn't a place. Catalina Cove is a character in this whole series that's taking place. So I think that, thank goodness, Harlequin messed up back in the day. Don't get me wrong, I really did love Silk and Thread. Silk and Thread was a story that captured me. And I wanted more of Silk and Thread. But thank goodness they messed up, because Catalina Cove has really for the last however long we've been reading this series, it has really captured us, you know, because we want to be a part of it. We want to move into Catalina Cove. You know, we done came up with our own businesses and stuff so that we could talk to LaCourt.
You brought back fishing for me, because fishing was one of the things we did as a family. I feel like my father was a fisherman, and I feel like if he knew he had to go out, he had to take his family. So we all became fishermen. So I love the water.
Yeah. And I know the one thing, ladies, that we all wanted clarification on was the pronunciation of names.
Yes.
Because Iris called her Veshi. I call her Vashti. What do you call her, Midnight?
I call her Vashti. I say Vashti.
It's Vashti. Okay. And her name is in the Bible. She was queen in the Bible. Yes, Queen Vashti. And she is my God. She is my sister's mother-in-law before she passed. She passed a few years ago. And I just loved her name. And she said it came from the Bible. And I was replaced by one of those, she was a mean queen in the Bible. And the king merits somebody else in the Bible. But Vashti, I always wanted to use that name, Vashti. I always wanted to use that name in a book. And when I decided on Catalina Cove, the name just said, now use me. You wanted to use me, now use me. So it's Vashti.
Okay, so Vashti. So what's the other name, ladies, that we was all pronouncing differently?
Vashti was one. Kagan. Was it
Kagan? You're right, Kagan.
Kagan.
KG, Kagan.
Kagan.
And the little girl in A Christmas Wish,
Taryn.
Okay.
Taryn.
Okay.
Taryn.
And Reed's name is LaCroix.
LaCroix.
Okay.
LaCroix. Reed LaCroix.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So I think that was pretty much all our names.
I have a quick question, Midnight. I have a quick question. I know y'all here, and I apologize because you hear Roxy, somebody's at my back door. Isn't that crazy? But anyway, I do have a quick question for you. Miss Brenda, when you decided about the different businesses that was coming into Catalina Cove, I noticed you did mom and pop businesses. Why did you decide to go with that?
Oh gosh, because I told you earlier, I have a place on Amelia Island. I have a beach house on Amelia Island, and that's really all they allow there. They don't have the big chain. Now they do have a Burger King, and they do have a Burger King, but you all would have to fight tooth and nail to get any chain on Amelia Island. That most of those and they do that to protect the mom and pop places that have been there. We don't even have a Pizza Hut on Amelia Island. That if you want Pizza Hut, you have to go off the island and go into the nearest town called Yulee and get a Pizza Hut or a Red Lobster. No, they figure we are Amelia Island is like a town. It's an island and it's surrounded by water. So they do their own fresh seafood, and they want mom and pop places to cook it. So I use that premise that instead of big chain stores coming in and just getting rid of mom and pop, that they said it took a tooth and nail to get a Walmart. A Walmart is there, but it's very, very restricted what they can sell and what they can't sell on Amelia Island. Yes, so it's different. It's different, and so I use that premise when I thought about how I wanted Catalina Cove to be. And of course, like anything else, when kids grow up and they're on this island, they want to go to the big city to see how it is. They think and then they find out that it's not what we thought it was going to be, and they ended up coming back. And some of them couldn't afford to come back, but through Reed LaCroix, he makes it possible for them to afford to come back now. So yes, that's why I did the mom and pop establishments.
You know, I have to say, I like the way the premise, if you will, the way that Catalina Cove is, because it kind of reminds us of what we used to have to do, or our parents used to have to do, of the way it was living that way. And I have to say, though, you know, I think I would welcome that type of platform right now, because things have gotten really out of control. And it gives us a sense of being able to communicate with people, because we've lost touch with all of that now. You know, everything is so, you know, microwavable now. So I kind of like that premise. And I think that's one of the things I think we all agree, that the reason why we connect so well with Catalina Cove, you know.
Yeah. And everybody asked me, they say Reed LaCroix was not what they expected. He was not a boss hog. Even though he was the wealthiest man in the Cove, he didn't control everything. Now, of course, if he likes you, everybody loves you. But he does not try to take advantage of that. He pays a very good salary to people. That's why they don't leave. But he just is a person with a heart. And that's one reason I said, I didn't want one person, I didn't want that type of drama. Well, one person control the town, and, you know, and he does to an extent, but he does it in a good way, because he wants to retain the integrity of what Catalina Cove is about.
Yes, we talked about that, how he invests in people.
Yeah, but he seems like he does it for love. He loves Catalina.
He does it for love. Yeah.
He loves Catalina Cove, and he doesn't.
He loves Catalina Cove.
Now, we haven't gotten all of his background, but I have a feeling that he has seen what has happened, you know, with other towns, and he didn't want that.
He didn't want that. Right. No, because he sees New Orleans. And remember, and even though I made that part up, of course, the pirate John Lafitte or Jean Lafitte did exist. And the reason I made up that history was, to me, I gave him Catalina Cove because he deserved Catalina Cove, because that part of history where he did come to the United States aid to help them win the war of, I think 1812, that is true. That part is true. And that government, our government, promised to give him something in return, but they never did. It was a broken promise. It was a broken promise. So I decide, well, I'm going to make it right. And I'm going to give him Catalina Cove. You have this piece of land on the water. We're not going to stop you from smuggling all this stuff in and out, because that's your lifestyle, okay? But we're not going to arrest you. It's like your piece of heaven, if that's what you want. And so, knowing my history, that I knew about the pirate and pirates, because I love pirates. And I said, if I ever wrote a historical, that I would write about a black pirate. Yeah, about pirates. But you know, I wanted to get that history, that part of the history out, because I just love all the things that I read about Jean Lafitte, you know. Yes.
Yeah, she took the next question right out of my mouth because I was going to ask.
Well, we got to touch on their history. We got to talk about their history and what they found under the steps in A Christmas Wish.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
What they found under the steps of A Christmas Wish. I love that I love the way that they discovered it, by the way.
Yeah.
But it found a little bit more documents to really substantiate that history and substantiate that how that island came to be. So I did love that. And you said you made up that history, but you just used it. You used a little bit of reality facts,
right?
And then you created a history around it. I love that.
Right.
I love
that was great. That was great.
And one thing about Catalina Cove, because when I did research on, just the people of New Orleans, the Creoles, and it is the most diverse area. One of the most diverse area, because free people of color, French, Italian, English, they came up and they made the Creole culture, and they really thought, and today some of them still think, they are their own race, that they are, that they are not Black, they're not white, they are their own race. And I've spoken to some, and they really feel that, because they're all mixed in. And Beyonce is a family, her mom's family is of the Creole race. All her mom people came from the, swampland or whatever of Louisiana. And she would tell you her mom is a proud Creole. Her mom, Tina, is a proud Creole. So they're not, some of them are fair skinned, some of them are dark. Some of them, like Kagan, who lives on the bayou, are full-blooded Indian, but they all make up all of the aspects of Catalina Cove.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. She's playing right into this. Like,
I
don't
know,
even have to ask these questions.
All of these questions that we had, she's giving us the answers before we even ask the questions. I love this.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. You are doing just what we need for you to do. But we did have a question, though, because in the fact that, like you mentioned, the Creole has so many different, they're like a hodgepodge, if you will.
Right.
We were trying to get character inspirations from some of the characters.
Yeah.
Well, let's just go with the first one. I had the first one was I could not get a read on Vaughn. I could not. I got a silhouette, but I cannot get a visual of what he looks like.
Oh, he is so handsome. Vaughn, when I saw Vaughn, and knowing that he was it was pretty much revealed that he is a descendant of June Lafitte, and that he had hazel eyes and he had longer hair of different grade, but then everybody, remember, in Catalina Cove, they're mixed with everything. But he had more French ancestry because his mom was French. But then his daddy was connected to the African princess Zara, who was on a ship on her way to the Caribbeans to marry someone in the Caribbeans. And Jean Lafitte, he just took over the ship. That's what pirates do. And he kidnapped her and took her whatever, but he fell in love with her. And so Vaughn, he is just very, very handsome. And if this ever comes to television, the guy got to play Vaughn got to look the part. He just got to look the part because he has he has straightish hair. And he has a dark complexion. When I say dark, probably my color complexion. And then he just, like a couple of times, Sierra said all he needed was a tricon on his head, the earring in his ear, and he would look like a pirate. So with the hawkish nose, Vaughn is a very handsome man. And I don't know whether listen to the audio version. But Ron Butler does a wonderful job because he put that French twang in his accent. When he says Sierra, he say her name in such a way. I'm like, Jesus, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I gotta go get the audio. Yes.
Oh yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, he says he put his own little spin on because he speaks with a French accent, and he give Vaughn that French accent on audio.
Oh, Lord.
Okay.
So, yeah, go ahead, Miss Tracy.
No, I was saying that was a good, characterization of Vaughn and visual, to get that visual for us now.
Yes.
Have that.
Very handsome man. Very handsome man.
When you were writing these characters, did you have a visual yourself that you had somewhere where you that was your inspiration for these characters?
Oh gosh, Vaughn, a lot of people didn't know or forgot that Vaughn was mentioned in the very first book. What I do, and Iris knows that I don't write anything down. Okay, my Brenda Woodbury reminds me by saying, okay, now who you writing about now? I need to write it down for you. And people who I may mention in the first book, because I knew Vaughn would eventually be in a future book. Like I knew Isaac Ellerin would be in a future book. Isaac Ellerin, the Catalina Cove Christmas. And when I wrote Vaughn's story, I just knew that what his issue was before I even wrote his book. Because that's why in the first or the second chapter, whenever Sawyer asked Trudy, pull the Miller file, because Deke, Bond's friend, was letting him know he's coming back to town. But I didn't mention of his association with Reed McCroy's son, or any of that, because the emphasis was on Sawyer and Vashti at the time. Right. So I would give a little bit of detail in each book, and then because you don't want to over bear the people, with too much details about other characters. It was enough about Bryce and Kagan and their shenanigans in every book before I finally got to their book. But it was important to me to introduce Vaughn early in the book. So when I write his book, I could go back and say, no, Vaughn was mentioned in the very first book. I'm just getting to his story.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's
a couple of characters that we met, like Ray. I love Ray. I just love Ray. I don't think
Devin Ryan, Ray Sullivan.
Yes.
Call me Devin, call me Ray. I prefer Ray.
I prefer Ray. Ray. That you mentioned when you first did the first book in Catalina Cove, Love in Catalina Cove, you mentioned quite a few people, yes. and then we got their stories. And I love the way that you did that. So we knew members of the town, and I think we were all waiting for Kagan's story. Kagan and Bryce.
Oh yeah, Kagan and Bryce. Yeah.
Those two, I'm telling you, I really enjoyed every time they came on the scene, because there was fireworks. There was fireworks every time they came on the scene. So I really did enjoy the way that you introduced us to everybody, and then you started giving us their stories.
Right.
But before we go any further, and I'm going to apologize because people came in my house just when I started recording, as always does. But so I want to apologize for having to do that. And I don't think Midnight has access. At least I hope she hasn't. Miss Brenda, we got to talk about Delaney Chic. And the reason why we have to go back to Delaney Chic is because this was the first book that you introduced us to this kiss that would knock you the heck out. So we need to know, we need to know. And you brought it here again. You know, you brought it again, and both of them was French, right? Midnight, am I wrong?
Well, I know the Sheik had talked about when he was explaining it to Delaney, what happened with her. He said it was some type of technique, a French kiss technique. Right. I think
that he learned on the Greek Isles. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And
okay,
so
you gotta
now
tell
we're
us this
here with
technique, Miss
Vaughn.
Brenda. You have to tell us this technique.
Yeah. Or
what the kiss is called.
The kiss is called Aries. Aries, and I learned about this kiss on the cruise. When I was on a cruise and I met this Greek couple, and they, you know, I walked around with my pad, you know, during that time, you didn't have computers or whatever, because this was years ago. And they asked me, was I a reporter? And I say, no, I'm just observing people, making notes, you know, and stuff. And once I told them I was a romance author, they were like, wow, Tama, are you going to write about the kiss? I'm like, what is the kiss? And they said the one that the French tried to take credit for, but it's really it's a Greek kiss, but everybody know about the French kiss and all of that, you know, the French kiss. And I say, well, no, I don't know anything about that. And they started telling me all about, and I'm like, wait, I can't write. So could you send me? And I gave them a business card with my post office box address. And I said, when you go back, could you send me information? Well, they sent it to me. It was in Greek. I don't, you know, it was not in English. And so one of my coworkers said, well, you go to that Greek sandwich shop every other day. Won't you go up there and have them translate it for you? So I'm like, oh, sure. And I went up there and had them translated. And the guy who was working behind the counter, and I gave it to him and he was reading it. And I thought he was getting red. And he said, wait a minute, you need to talk to my wife. I can't explain this to you. And so I said, well, okay, what did they send me? And so after work, I went up there. They had closed the shop for that day. And after work, his wife took me in the back and she explained to me about that kiss. She said it's a form of French kissing where you will pass out. I'm like, really? Pass out? You know, I'm like, And so she explained it to me, and she was not shamed when she had, like, it was just something everybody in Greece knew or whatever. So I said, well, I can't wait to write a book to put this in. So I figured that if anybody who would know it, that my Sheik would know it. So that's why I put it in Delaney book.
All right.
And then when I didn't give, and I told everybody what it was, if they wanted to go online to read about, you know, the kiss more, they could go online and read about it. But I didn't put the name of it in Bond book. But I figured anyone who had read Delaney book would say, wait a minute, that's a kiss.
That's a kiss.
That's good. I'm glad y'all picked up on it.
Mm-hmm.
I told y'all that was a kiss. That was a kiss.
Yeah.
When you said it, I was like, oh, that's Delaney Sheik's book.
Delaney Sheik.
I knew.
Yeah. Delaney Sheik kiss. I said, I know we read about this kiss before. I said, and that's a kiss. And Midnight was the one that said, well, Vaughn would have that because he has that French
right.
heritage behind him.
No. Yeah. And he every summer growing up, he would go to Paris and France to visit his mother's people. So he grew up there a lot. So he probably, you know, hanging with guys in Paris and France, he learned a lot, you know.
He did. Listen, when that kiss came up, I just said, okay, I made a note. We have to ask about this kiss. Because I knew I had read that kiss before. And I knew, or something similar to it, and I couldn't figure out the name. The ladies just helped me. Miss Prissy came up with the name to let me know that was the name of it. But I do remember that kiss before. So I had to,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Midnight. I had to ask about that kiss.
No, you were right. You were right on time. That was coming up next. But since we got that out the way, I want to go back to throughout the series, you touched on a number of sensitive topics.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if you, I guess I will want to say, what was your purpose in putting them in there? What did you want the reader to get from? So let's just start from the beginning. And Catalina, Love and Catalina Cove, you brought up how, I'm just going to say this too. So we already don't like Vasti's parents. We feel like they have not apologized for what they've done.
They haven't.
They have not.
But on the flip side of that, in the beginning, I don't know whether or not you intended for us to feel like they were parents, because when you become a parent, you have no footprint or anything to follow. So did they start off trying to help their daughter from a disaster, and then it just kind of morphed into something?
You know, and that's honestly, when I wrote her parents' story, and Brenda Woodbury like to say, you write some mean parents. I mean, but my parents were loving parents. They were nothing like these people, okay? But when I wrote her parents' story, and again, I don't write notes. When I write, I'm following what's in my head. When I first wrote about her parents, in my mind, I was thinking they had a 16-year-old daughter who would not tell them who got her pregnant. They thought of everything. Was she raped? Was she this? You know, did she get pregnant by some young guy who parents bought him for the summer to Shelby by the sea? So they really at first thought they would be doing her what parents do
To protect them.
and then yes, and that's what it was. But then they got I guess greed later, because it's going to come out when Catalina Cove is put in a television series, that and that's one of the things the network said, okay, the guy that's doing the script said, what motivated her parents to do what they did, you know, because they didn't seem like bad people at first, because when the town people was against Kagan, they didn't mind her having a friendship with Kagan. Right. So, you know, they looked at that was, you know, well, we know the Witherspoon, you know, they are all they're so liberal, but, you know, seem like that, if they were so concerned about what people thought, they would have stopped her from having a friendship with Kagan, and they didn't do that. Right. So what happened to make them all of a sudden become the parents that nothing mattered, what she wanted didn't matter. So they really thought at first they were doing what was best for her, but they got so caught up in it because they gave, when she had twins, and they found out, they never told her she was having twins during the time she was pregnant. Nobody told her, you know. The midwife didn't know that when she was taking care of her. So when she went to the home for unwed mothers, that's when they told her she was having twins. So the parents, oh, wait a minute, it's bad enough we got to do one baby that we're going to adopt. We're going to give up. Now we got two. And then everything fell into place with them when this judge offered them a lot of money for the other baby. And they didn't even tell the judge there was another baby out there. They just, not that the judge probably cared, because remember, Sawyer went away thinking his wife was having one baby anyway. Right. But they paid them a lot of money. Wow. To get out of that. And that, you know, and they felt like, even though they might have been wrong in feeling this way, that, you know, our daughter has embarrassed us in the community. We want to leave here anyway. So we got enough money to go and retire and buy a house somewhere else and never come back to Catalina Cove again if we want to. So that's what motivated them. And then they felt like, look, we don't owe her anything because she is the reason that we had to escape there. She wouldn't tell people who the baby was. And if you can imagine these cruel people, who your baby daddy, you know, they were, well, people were thinking it. Some people were saying it aloud. So it became a place that was very hard for Vashti to live. And they stayed there just long enough for her to finish high school. And then they got out of there. When she left, went one way, they left and went another way. So wow. No, they don't think they owe her any apologies. They don't even owe, they don't feel like they owe the twins apology. They don't owe anybody apologies. They did what they needed to do. And that's their attitude, and they're sticking with it.
And they still want to be a part of their lives. I don't know if I would be that.
And they, right now, they invited them to, you know, to meet the girls, and they saw them. And for a little while, they felt remorse, but not enough to apologize. And now they don't feel any remorse, because I think in later books, I put this Sawyer, who could be a very forgiving guy, told them now they think of Sawyer's son and their daughter, Cutter and Shelby, are the legitimate kids of Vashti. They don't even want to recognize the daughters or the oldest daughters as their granddaughters. But that's okay, because Reed, what they're not giving the girls, Reed LaCroix is giving them.
We know he is.
Yes.
Reed is giving them everything. Yes.
Now,
yes.
Ladies, I do have to give you a little bit of warning. You know, we could talk to Brenda forever.
I know.
But we are 15 minutes in, so let's get a few more questions in, and then we're gonna have to start closing this show down.
Look, okay, so the most important was, listen, because we can't even talk about one book for an hour, and you want us to talk about 5?
I know.
I know. I have a question.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, and Miss Brenda is giving us some nuggets right here. These are some heavy duty nuggets here. Go ahead.
So what I would like to know is that during your writing of this series, what type of music do you listen to, or do you listen to any music at all when you're writing?
Oh yeah, Motown. Mostly Motown, the 80s. Not just Motown. I have a playlist that I listen to, some of it upbeat, because at some point I need to get up and just stretch my legs, and that's when I just, you know, do the Beyonce then. But, you know, Single Lady and Crazy in Love, you know, because I have to get up. But typically Motown, because that's when you understood the lyrics and you know what the lyrics were about, love, and that I could just imagine. And I played them at certain times, especially right before I do a love scene. I may play a real sexy Four Tops or Temptation. It's just my imagination running away from me, because I need to set my mind. Or even Smokey. Smokey is another one that I play a lot of right before I write a love scene or one of my kissing scenes, because I have to get that part in my mind and I see it. I close my eyes, and I'm lucky that I can type without looking at my keyboard, because I look at, you know, I close my eyes, listen to the music, and I actually can see them kissing. I can see them making love, all of that. And I'm just putting it on paper.
All right now.
Cool.
Motown. I'm a Motown baby, so I'm good with Motown.
I was gonna say, have you ever thought about putting your playlist in the book somewhere?
Oh gosh, no, I never thought about doing that. Now in Catalina, the Christmas Wish, they wanted me, or they were supposed to put some of those soup recipes, because I was collecting, and that was supposed to go over big. But they were rushed for time, and I had already gone over the word count because some of those soup recipes that Sierra was making was my grandmother's soup recipes.
So you're going to share those with us in another book, right? You could do a Brenda Jackson.
I hope so. You know, I have a
Catalina Cove recipe book.
Huh? Yeah,
Catalina Cove recipe book.
Catalina Cove recipe book.
Yeah,
I hadn't thought of that, but yes, it's a couple of them. Even the lobster bisque. I got a cousin that lives in New England states and one in Maryland, and they make the best lobster bisque. And even though I didn't tell Vaughn, I told him what was in it, but I didn't give anyone the recipe. But all of that was supposed to be in the back of the book, and they did not include it.
Okay, well,
you can just go ahead and give us a little spiral.
You may have to pull that out, and you may have to put that underneath of the Madrias line. But we need to have that recipe book
and the blueberry muffins if you have somebody that can make blueberry muffins.
God.
Yes.
Let me tell you, when I was trying to decide, it got to be a staple dish that, and I know about the Cajun and all of that, the Cajun food and the New Orleans spicy food, but I wanted something. So that's when I made the blueberry capital. And you would not believe how many people say I never ate blueberry muffins or blueberry pancakes or blueberry this until I read Catalina Cove. Now I'm all in blueberry. Blueberry coffee, blueberry tea, blueberry this. I'm like, wow.
Let's not forget about blueberry wine. Let's not forget about blueberry wine.
Yes, now everybody is in the blueberry. All things blueberry, okay?
Oh, that is wonderful.
Yeah, we need some recipes. So sure. I guess we can kind of bring this, closing us up a little bit. So of course, everybody all wants to know, will there be more of Catalina Cove? Because I have to tell you, we all agree, we are not ready to leave Catalina Cove. I'm thinking about making it, well, I've already made it my home, so it's gonna be my retirement home.
Well, I think it's just fantastic how it was supposed to just be, a 4-book series, and you already passed the 4, so.
I know, and that's what was the thing, that it was supposed to be, just finish those 3 books, and then you could go back to Men of Action, but it did so well in sales. They just dropped Men of Action. That's why I'm writing it under my own publishing company, Men of Action.
Wow.
And we went into,
They dropped Men of Action?
Yeah, they had already gave me a pre-contract for it. And they said, well, no, you can have it back if you will agree to do Catalina Cove. And then, I'm like, well, no, I owe them a Madeiras book. And they say, well, can you do a Madeiras and Catalina Cove? And that's how that came to be with Follow Your Heart. But then I had a 4-book contract for 4 more Catalina Cove books. I've already written 3 of them. Follow Your Heart, the one that comes out in July, The House on Blueberry Lane. And then I have 1 more, in The Christmas Wish. So my last Catalina Cove book will be Brody book and the Young and Frida's book. That's the next 2. That's the next one. Then that ends the contract. So whether Harlequin offered me another contract to continue, another book contract to continue Catalina Cove, which I think they will because it's a very popular series. Either way, it won't end because I will write it under my own publishing company.
Miss Brenda, we got to know about the twins. The twins got to grow. Listen, I'm upset now. Wait a minute.
They got to grow up.
The twins got to grow up, and Jade has to become mayor. Right. Jade has to become
mayor. And the big question is, will she defy her grandfather and bring the golf course there on the retreat, the resort there, or whether she will do, or by that time will he have gotten so much into her that she won't do that? And of course she won't do that, and of course
I think it's going to be a balance. I think she's going to bring a balance to Catalina Cove. I think she is going to really understand her grandfather's vision of what Catalina Cove can be. And I think she's
Right.
gonna understand what, especially with people coming back and starting their new lives over, she's gonna understand the importance of keeping Catalina Cove the way that it is, but with a little bit of progression, with a little bit of growth, and everything. But Ms. Brenda,
And Reed has done that. Reed has done that. He bought in the McDonald's. He bought in a Spencer's. He bought in what his granddaughters want.
Yeah.
And they're working fine for him. But he does not want the Walmart, the this, the that, you know.
Right.
Which I totally understand.
Well, you know, speaking of other books, so we got The House on Blueberry Lane. So that's going to be Brody's book, right?
No, that's Jay and Velvet's book.
That's what I was getting ready to ask you. From
the Steele family.
Yeah.
Because I mentioned the Steele family and I said, okay, I need somebody to put in this book. So I say, okay, I need to tell Velvet and Jay's story. I'm not writing any more Steeles right now. So I put Velvet, I knew she left Phoenix. I said, okay, she ran the Catalina Cove. So that's why I introduced her as Sierra's friend. And now Jay is coming back. Mercury's best friend is coming to claim Velvet.
Yeah.
All right.
He needs to come. Yes, he does need to come, because I need him to come, because that was the one thing that captured me in this last book. And I said, okay, he loves this woman, so he got to come on. But wait a minute, I know, guys, I know we don't have so much time, but we got to talk about Victoria and Roland. We got to talk about
Roman,
Uncle Jay. And Uncle Jay. We got to talk about Uncle Jay.
Grandma Felicia.
Laverne, who she's supposed to be on next.
Yeah, and I told readers, and believe it or not, it's funny that it's not funny that when I do that, I didn't foresee the problems it may cause later on, because to me, it was a Medeiros book, because they were just vacationing in Catalina Cove, and that's okay, because it was a place that both of them enjoyed. She lived there, he was there vacationing. So now I have two different networks. One wants the Medeiros books, one wants Catalina Cove books.
So where does this book
now
go?
the issue is who gets Follow Your Heart? The Catalina Cove, because Harlequin said it was a Catalina Cove book. They never put on the front cover it was a Medeiros book. I said it was a Medeiros book because it was, but they were fulfilling a Catalina Cove contract. So because of that, the Catalina Cove group feel like it's our book. You know, that book should be included with us. The Medeiros people, who the network that wants Medeiros, say, it's really a Medeiros book. So that's, and I can see the same thing happening with the one I just wrote, Blueberry Hill. Is it a Steele book or is it a Catalina Cove book?
Oh, I got it.
So
one should have those problems, right?
Listen,
Yeah.
that was
Two networks vying for
so
one
right.
book.
I was about to say, to have those problems, you know.
Yes, yes.
Oh Lord, I don't have
but we'll
networks.
work it out. I'm sure they will work it out to some satisfaction.
Here's the wonderful thing about it, though, Brenda, is you have multiple entities interested in bringing these stories to life. And it would be wonderful for me to be able to pick channels of where I want to go see a Brenda Jackson story. I think that in itself is just hands down it's music to my ears. It's music to my ears, because you have the stories that multiple networks want to be able to see and want to be able to show. So hands down, bowing down to you, Miss Brenda, bowing down. Because
and I tell other authors, write series like you wrote The Lassiters, continue to write series, write books, because now I got 140 some books. And when I spoke with 4 different networks last week. In 1 week, well, this person want this person want this. And so, and they could do that because I have so much.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
I have so much, you know, because they don't want just
when
one
I
or
grow-
two
when I
books. They
grow
want
up-
the whole series.
When I grow up, Miss Brenda, I'm be like you. When I
Thank
grow up,
you.
I'm gonna be like you. I'm gonna have it where networks are gonna be coming to me or my ancestors or whoever, whoever's left behind me,
Your-
and be saying,
your
okay, we want
legacy.
this series and we want this series and we want this series. So
That's the same thing I said, Iris. They're gonna be coming to my publishing house saying, can we use this music for this movie, for that?
that's right.
You know,
right.
John's music, put that music to the movies, to them
Listen,
films.
we're gonna speak it. We're gonna speak it out there because what you have shown us, Brenda, is that it can be done if you're true to yourself.
can be.
Absolutely.
One thing I would say about you is you have been true to yourself and to your readers when you tell your story.
Yes.
And you have
Yes.
been steady as it go, you know, steady as it goes.
Yeah.
So like I said, I bow down to you.
Thank you.
And what I like about what I like about your journey is, and from what I know and see is that you just do it, and you don't worry about what's going to happen. And what typically you see that is when people just do the work, and then the blessings come.
Yeah.
And so you just keep pushing forward, and then your blessings seem to just follow you and drop right in there.
right,
So
And I love that.
Yeah, because the movies was not anything I envisioned. If I
Yeah.
envisioned, I wouldn't have done the crossover books, the different things, but it wasn't, you know, it was the books. The movies, like you said, it's a blessing.
Yeah.
Another way to get my stuff out there. But like I tell them, it has to be romance. It has to be that I feel, and you know, there's an Iris, you know, you're a filmmaker, it's never 100% book to movie,
Right.
but as long as the story, my core story is told, I'm okay with it.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Right.
That's beautiful. I'm gonna piggyback off what Iris said. You know, you write about, you know, steady love. And that song, when she said that song came to mind. You know, your books are steady about love, and you know, love, we need that, you know. Film need that because they rehashing stuff because they don't have no new content. They not creative enough to come up with new stories. So, you know, we need all our authors to keep writing and keep pushing so that we can get some
be
new
true to your
stories out
stories,
there.
and your readers are gonna be true to you. That's how I think it. Be true to your
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and your readers gonna be true to
Because
you.
I need my readers. I always need my
The readers
readers. And I
is
want,
space.
when
That's
all
big.
this go to television, I need my readers to support me.
Yeah. Well, Miss Brenda, unfortunately, we are over.
Well, y'all could invite me back. Y'all know
We
that.
We would definitely invite you back. I have enjoyed this, and I would love to be able to bring you back and we talk about it again, talk about whatever is next. Because I feel like we still didn't
especially when the announcements start coming later on, you know, for the next few months. Invite me back because I'll share whatever I can share. You know, I'm not one like, I got mine, you get yours. No, people need to know that Black love is hot now, okay?
Yeah.
What they're buying, what they're not buying, but what they need to continue writing, and their authors like yourself who are writing beautiful love stories. Continue. I know, Iris, you like to kill them off and you like your suspense.
Well,
that's
I do.
coming too.
But I put the love in there too. You know, they
put
kill
the love in there
messing
too.
with their love. That's why they kill them.
That's
all.
right. That's right. They're protecting their
right.
love.
They do.
Protect the love.
Miss Brenda, I have to have you on an episode of Books and Booze.
Yes,
please.
But we definitely gonna have to. That's definitely gonna have to be one where you get all your chores done, put your pajamas on. So when you get done talking, we just gonna roll right to the bed.
Hey,
there's gonna be some drinking involved too.
That sounds good to me. I got some cute jammies.
Yes. So we have to make that happen. We may have to continue this with Blueberry, the house on Blueberry Hill.
Blueberry Lane. Yes, we are gonna have
Blueberry Lane.
And ladies, we do have to close it down, but instead of us letting the listeners know where they can find us, because we do that every week, this time we're gonna turn it over to Brenda. Brenda, please let our listeners know where they can find you. Tell them about your website, tell them about whatever you want them to know about you.
Okay, wow. My website, www.brendajackson.net. I have a new book coming out in March. What Happens on Vacation is part of the Westmoreland series. Then I have in July, Blueberry, The House on Blueberry Lane, which is a new Catalina Cove book. Yeah. Then in October, I'm back to the Westmorelands again with Maverick Westmoreland, which is next to the last Outlaw book. So I have 3 new books, and I have a Man of Action book coming out in September, I believe. Wow. And it's Roland Summers' book. That is one of the most awaited books. He was introduced in the Grangers. So it's time for Roland to find new love. So I'm writing that. I'm
waiting for Roland's book. I'm waiting for that. Okay. Miss Brenda.
Yes.
How do you keep these people straight? How do you keep your story straight? How many people ask me, and I don't know how to explain it. So maybe you can explain it better. And I know we got to go, but you just laid out 4 different series that you have coming out this year. How you do that?
Yes. I don't know. I just write. I just, in my own little world, and I write. And I tell the publisher, no matter what synopsis I give you, it may not be that story when you get it. So please don't put it out there on Amazon what the summary of the book is until I turn it in. And so that's what they do.
Because when you sit down, you're just writing what's coming to you at that time.
Yeah, at that time. I don't know how it's going to end. I know it's just going to end happily. I don't know. And the one I just finished writing, it explains Bart. It tells you what's wrong with Bart Outlaw, why he was so resistant. And I didn't know why Bart was so resistant to the Westmorelands until this book. It wasn't like I knew all along, but now everything fit together.
Falls into place. Miss Brenda, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
This hour went by too fast.
Yes.
But thank you so much for coming and spending some time with us. And know that you have an open invitation, not only to Iris Moments, but you have Midnight Ace Book Bar, and I'm sure she's offering an open invitation to you anytime. So thank y'all so much again for a wonderful week. We're going to end it with Miss Prissy. If you would please take us out.